Hello. I was in the wrong place, but now I'm in the right place, and I am coming live for the second workshop of the day, day one, and ready to move on. I'm trying to find the live in the group on my computer, so hopefully I can have a conversation with you guys tonight instead of just looking at comments later. That I was so frustrated because I thought on my tablet they would pop up, but for whatever reason they didn't. So I'm trying on my computer tonight to see if, since I'm live, I can see your comments as we're going. So just getting my computer up here. It's already up. I'm just trying to get trying to refresh so the live will appear on my computer. And well, it'll show up here in a minute. Anyway, I went over the schedules, a little bit, it took me a while to make the schedule. So here's my schedule for what I'm doing tonight. And I had my other supply list ready because I just didn't want to forget anything. And then with my supply list, I filled my little tray with all the things I needed for tonight. Just because, I want to stay organized and move things along. And, sometimes we kind of get ahead of ourselves and, oh, here we go. I found it. I found it, you guys. So we are going to start now with, let me get it pulled up here. Ta-da. Okay. So, anyway, let me try to zoom you guys in just a little bit more. Okay. So earlier, today I did use my light box and kind of trace now my volume's on now. Which I don't need on for this part. There we go. Okay. I did trace the cardinal onto the music paper just so it would be a little better. And then so I have that already. I'm going to use my messy mat again just to cover up the clipboard until I get to that part, just because I don't want any I don't want any stuff to get on other paintings that don't belong there. So say hey if you're watching, and we're gonna move along today. So I have the next step on this is the background of our leopard painting. So the next step we're doing with it is I have this package of small stencils that I used, and I'm just gonna kind of, there's a whole bunch of different ones. I'm just gonna kind of fan through here and try to decide which one I want to use, because it doesn't really matter. Like, you can pick whatever you want, basically. So I am going to pick a couple out of here. That one. Nope, this one. And this one. So I'm going to pick those two out of this kit. And then I also have this that I want to use. I think that's the only one out of there. Let's see what's in this. I have all kinds of stencils now, you guys. So, oh, hi, Karen. I hope you're having a good Memorial Day. It's kind of winding down, I know. So, ooh, butterflies. I'm gonna use that one today. These are not the same stencils I used the first time. Again, it's I'm just using some different things just because I want to. So what we do with these, I'm gonna set them off to the side, and I have some sponges that I'm gonna use. So I am gonna use a little bit of Golden Honey for these stencils, which is kind of this mustardy brown color. And get some of that out. Now, I use these makeup sponges. They're not the kind you get at Walmart. Those are too spongy. Like they have more air in them, and they don't, it creates bubbles when you stencil with those. So these are some that I order off of Amazon, and they're just more dense. So they're better for stenciling. So that's what I use when I stencil, is these makeup sponges. And even on Amazon, I don't think the ones I order are called makeup sponges. I think they are like called maybe paint sponges or stencil sponges or something like that. So for stenciling, what you want to do is you want to get some paint on your sponge. Like there's quite a bit of paint there. And then you offload most of it. So you get it, because otherwise, if you don't, it's going to bleed underneath your stencil. So less is more. I load it up pretty well just so there's a good covering on my sponge, but then I offload most of it. So I'm gonna just kind of rotate this a little bit. I'm gonna try to stay away from the edges of the stencil because I don't want those straight edges, even though this is not necessarily gonna show that much, but it does show a little bit in the painting. So I don't really want a bunch of straight edges. So I am just kind of covering this area with this particular stencil. Like so. So see, it's just a nice clean image. I'm just going to kind of toss this aside. I'm done with that one, and I'm going to use a variety here. So, but I'm sticking with this same color of paint. I'm not going to switch up the paint. I'm just going to stick with this Golden Honey. This one I actually want to place on the edge and put it down here, I think. And as you can see, I'm not covering every part of the page. I am just kind of stenciling in certain areas. Again, this is just part of layering a background to show through in different areas of the painting. This I want to use up here. So put that up there and then just kind of start filling in. I'm not even making sure that I put the same amount of paint in each area. It just creates a lot of texture and dimension by adding these stenciled layers in with your painting layers. So this is a really fun, like I talked about this morning when I did my live, how making the blocks of color is fun, just like it's very mindless. It doesn't matter where the paint goes. You can just paint your blocks of color and keep moving on. I love this kind of painting because it is so like mindless, like literally you just put the paint wherever you feel like and keep moving on. These little butterflies I'm gonna do right down here.
And then the way I clean stencils is super, super easy. The second box you guys get, you actually get some stencils. So we're gonna play around with those. So if you subscribe, the second month's box, which would be July, will have a set of stencils in there that we're gonna play with. So you'll get a chance to kind of do some of this stenciling and experimenting. And it's not just the stencil that I use in the painting. You're gonna get the whole set of stencils. So it's 8 different stencils. I'm not gonna tell you what the stencils are, but it's 8 sheets of stencils, and they're like full size. So it's a pretty good deal. But how I clean my stencils, just so you guys know, I'm just gonna set them aside for now. But I use the Dawn spray stuff, and I coat the stencils with that spray, and then I use a toothbrush and I just kind of scrub it off. It takes literally 2 seconds. When I clean them up right away, I mean, literally it comes right off. But even if they've set for a little bit, that spray stuff really gets it off, and using a toothbrush is the perfect way to paint your stencils. So also in that second box, guess what you get? You get a brand new toothbrush to clean your stencils with. My husband laughed about that. He's like, "You got them toothbrushes?" I'm like, "Yes, if you have the tools, you have to properly clean them." So that's all the stenciling I'm gonna do on this layer. This little sponge, you can save it. They don't stencil as well after this paint dries on there. So I usually just toss them. I literally buy like a pack of 500 at a time. So, but the next step we're gonna do with this is also super fun, and I couldn't decide. The first painting I did, I used black only, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to use black only or if I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. So I have acrylic ink. This is oxide black, which is just a solid black. Then I have black that's kind of got a shimmer in it. And then I also have this shimmer purple. Those are not the only ones I have. I have 10 or 12 different colors of ink because I've really started liking using it. And I forgot to get my little ink tray, so I'm getting that. See, I tried to be organized and I still messed up, guys. So this little flower, it's a porcelain little paint palette type thing. That's what I use when I use my ink. And then I also use a liner brush, which is here. So I get that out. But what I do is I put a little bit of ink, and I put it with a little bit of water. So I have a little bit of water in each of these little wells. And then I'm going to start with this shimmery one and just see what it looks like. So I put a little drop of the ink, maybe. There we go. In the tray. And I kind of stir it with my brush. There might not be a lot of difference in this black shimmer and the oxide black like that you can see on camera. So we'll just see. So what I do with the inks is I'm just gonna make little swirls. Again, a very free, mindless. If you haven't figured it out, this leopard painting is all about mindless and being free, freeing your mind. That's why, to me, painting is very therapeutic, because it gets me out of my own head, literally, to stop thinking about all the crazy stuff that's going on and all of the sadness that I tend to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I really love painting for that reason. So now I'm going to use, I'm going to try this little bit of purple and see what it looks like on here. Because the purple for sure is shimmery, so. And I just kind of wiped my brush off this on this baby wipe. I didn't necessarily rinse it off. So then the reason that I mix it with a little bit of water is just so it's not so, like it glides on the paper a little better. So it's very translucent, it looks like, which is okay. I mean, you can still see the shimmer of it. And it might just be, I might have had a little bit too much water in that one. I'm trying not to hit the super wet spots that are black because I don't want the purple and the black to kind of combine. So I'm trying to hit some of these white spots with this acrylic ink here. And I'm gonna move that a little bit. I'm gonna go back in this black and make some more. The first painting I did of this, I didn't do a lot of the swirls. So I'm doing a lot more on this one. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Let me see if I can, my camera looks a little crooked, so let me, like on the view that I have, let me see if I can, see if that makes it a little better. So then this, obviously, the acrylic ink takes a while to dry. So usually if I use acrylic ink on something, it'll be either we have something else to do while we can let that dry, or it'll be the last thing I do. So I'm going to set this aside. We have to let this, all of this dry, or it won't, you know, the paint will just smear it everywhere, like if we go on painting. So then I just usually dry my little porcelain tub here with a towel, and which this time I forgot, so I always save that little well for if I'm using solid black again. And so yeah, that's the more background of this painting. There we go. Maybe that's better. So I'm going to set this one aside, pop, right over there. Now, for the crackle board, look how fabulous. Like this, did this just not turn out super, like I love how this turned out. It was really, the crackle turned out really nice on this one. So I'm going to get rid of these ink bottles really quick out of my way. So the paint that I'm going to do now is called Mediterranean. I already have it out because I was using it on my blue portrait earlier. So I'm going to get some in here, like so. And the technique that I want to show you on this is what I call like dry brushing. So on the first one that I did pretty solid lines, and I ended up not liking that it covered up so much of the crackle. So this one, I'm actually gonna turn this and have it go the opposite way, so the stripes aren't going the same direction. But dry brushing, so let me kind of show you here, get my paper towel out. So you get some paint on your brush, and then you kind of do that, and it kind of gets a lot of the paint off. And so then you just kind of drag your dry paintbrush across like so. Because then more of the crackle will show through, even though it's a stripe. I just think that that'll be a nicer painting. So, and you can vary your widths of stripes too, like they don't have to be equally spaced. Mine aren't going to be exact, obviously, because I'm just winging it. I'm not measuring or anything. And I don't even care if they're crooked or wavy. I don't even care about that. So that is dry brushing, and I'm actually going to go over it one more time just so it's Some of it's more solid than other areas. So you kind of have a different effect there. And these are all things that you'll kind of learn in the subscription box. You know, you'll get some of these supplies. Like I told you, if you've watched any of my lives about the box, you know, anything that we use mixed media, so like the acrylic ink, you'll get that in your box. So you don't have to worry about going and finding it. You'll just get it in your box, which is kind of the advantage of my box, is especially if you're a new painter, is you don't have to go browsing through all the paints, all the brushes, all the canvas, you know, at the craft store and wondering what do I buy? What do I even want to do? Do I want to do acrylic? Do I want to do watercolor? Do I want to do oils? I'm doing all the work for you. Of course, I chose for you as far as what kind of paint you use. It's going to be acrylic because that's what I use is acrylic. And so that's what I'm going to be teaching. But then, you know, even like the brushes and all of that stuff you're going to get that in your box. So that is dry brushing. I really like how it's still a stripe, but it still lets that crackle pop through. And so that is that step. We're going to move on to the cardinal while this dries. So I'm going to set this aside and pull this cardinal. I'm going to set this one here. So with this one, I'm going to switch out my trays here. I had several different colors of paint that I used for for the bird. Just because I wanted it to be, you know, I wanted it to be dimensional, kind of feathery. So again, I'm going to use a real thin, like liner brush. I'm actually going to use the same one I used with the acrylic ink. But I can see the pencil line. You guys probably cannot. So I can't tell. There we go. I can't tell which way to move because it's flipped on my computer screen. So I can tell where my pencil lines are. You guys can't on the camera just because it's a really light line. Again, I didn't want it to show on the painting, but I wanted to be able to see where my bird was. So I'm just going to make these little swish, swoosh, 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 swoosh strokes on my bird. And it absolutely does help for you to make the swoosh, swoosh, swoosh sound. If you have seen, what was that movie that Julia Roberts was in? Stepmom, where she's trying to bond with her stepdaughter, and she's frustrated that she can't get the trees to work right. And so Julia Roberts is helping her, and she's like, if you do the swoosh, 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 swoosh sound, it makes it... So I always think about that when I'm doing these kind of strokes. If you've seen that movie, it's kind of funny when she does that. So, and I'm just doing a few of these light brush strokes. Again, I wanted to use several colors of red to kind of make the cardinal kind of pop a little bit. I'll spare you my swoosh, swoosh, swoosh sounds. I'm just doing it in my head. This cardinal's a little less chunky than my other cardinal, but that's okay. And he's just kind of sitting on this, the post of this cross, which, like I said earlier, is why I kind of chose the old rugged cross as my background paper. I am going to kind of come out here and make him a little more plump, I think. It looks like maybe there's another person watching. It looks like I have 2 watching. So if you're watching, let me know you're out there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that paint in there. I'm going to now grab another color, and it is called True Burgundy. It's a folk art color. So I'm going to get just a little bit of that. I didn't rinse my brush. I just kind of did it along on the towel there, just kind of get some of that paint color off. But I'm just going to keep doing the same kind of strokes. Some of them will overlap the darker red. Some of them will be new color strokes into the bird a little more. I got a new, I posted earlier today, kind of like the progress that I had made, that we made this morning in the group as far as where we're at in the painting process, basically. But after I posted those pictures, I had another lady join the workshop, and of course I had to send her an invite to the group, but she hasn't joined yet, so hopefully later she paid the fee to join, and then I had to add her to the group. But since I can't really add anyone that I'm not Facebook friends with, so I kind of have to send them a link. So I sent her the link, and she hasn't clicked it yet. So hopefully she'll click it later, where she'll be with us maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I was excited that someone else kind of wanted to see what it was all about. You can do, when you're doing this, you can do as many strokes as you want. You can do a little, you can do a lot. Depends on how solid you want your bird to be. As far as, how you still want to kind of see the music in the background, or if you want to not see the music at all. So that's a personal choice, how solid you want that to be. Now I'm just kind of going more into the middle, just a few strokes, because we'll use a couple other red colors. So and then I want to go back in this dark a little bit and kind of define kind of where the beak is. So I want to kind of round this up a little bit. And then it's more solid around where the beak is, just a little bit. So I'm going to kind of just paint in some of that a little more solid. And then of course his eye too will be, this solid area is usually black, actually, I believe, on a cardinal, but I wanted to stick with just the darker red. But I'm just going to kind of make a circle here where the eye is, so I can go around that. And you can see that I'm still kind of doing the same kind of paint strokes, because I want it to still look like, bird feathers. I don't want it to look like a solid like it's a solid layer of paint. I want it to be more of a feathery look. So I'm still using these little short little paint strokes there. So that's the more defined area of around his eye and his beak. Grab a little more of this darker burgundy. Kind of pulling that down a little bit. So that is enough of that color. And the next color is this lipstick red, which is a very bright red. So get a little, I'm trying not to get too much, but every single time, like you can't see my tray, but there's way too much paint there, but trying to get a little dot is sometimes impossible. So then I'm gonna come up here, paint some brighter reds up here. Like I said, you can make it as solid or as transparent as you want. I'm kind of making him more transparent, like in the middle, like where his belly is, and then more solid around the edges. And I am, again, I'm overlapping the colors just so it's more realistic and more dimensional for the bird. So the darks and the bright reds, you know, they're kind of overlapping each other. And really, I think I'm going to leave this one more transparent. You know, the original one I did here is a little more solid. I did a little bit longer, more bold strokes on that one, but I think I like this one more transparent, where you can kind of see, like you can tell it's a cardinal, but you can kind of see more of the music in the background. I'm going to get a little bit of yellow here to paint the beak and around his eye. So I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow, same small paintbrush, and I'm just going to add a little dot of this red in there to make it more of a, like an orangey yellow. To do the beak here. It is very, very hard to get any yellow to cover on the first coat, no matter what brand you use. I mean, it's just near impossible. But since the rest of him is not solid, I'm gonna leave it still like a little bit see-through. So that way it's kind of more cohesive. That's the word I'm looking for, cohesive. So there's where the eye and the beak are. I am going to do a little bit more red in this orange to make it a little darker. And then I'm going to paint along here where it's kind of defining the top of his beak and the bottom of his beak. So that's all there is to that. Like, that's just really painting shapes to create a beak, and it's just, you know, a triangle basically. So I'm gonna, where's my little paintbrush here? I'm gonna try I guess I'm going to use this one. When this dries, I'm going to use this end of my paintbrush. I'm not going to use a black. I'm going to use this dark red that I already have out, but that's going to be the center of his eye. And I just literally get a little, since I'm using dark red, you can't really see it, but a little dot on my end of my paintbrush. And I'm just going to dot right in the middle, and that's his eye. It's super easy. Just to, I'll bring it a little closer just so maybe you can see. Can't tell where I am. There I am. So just the little, the opposite end of your paintbrush makes it really easy to do that. So we're done with that little paintbrush for a minute. Now I'm going to take what I did on this one, and you kind of can see it when I turn it a certain way, but I used a little bit of copper as an accent on my cross, and then I did a few little copper strokes in my cardinal as well. So I'm going to do that with a different brush here, just to kind of make some, and that's why I kind of chose to use a different colors. I didn't really like that really dark brown on my first one. So I chose to use some lighter colors, so this copper would show through a little better. Show up a little better, not show through, but so that's what I'm doing. And this is another like completely random, like you just dollop it wherever you want it. So that's good on that. And now I'm going to take this tiny brush again, and I'm going to do a few in the bird as well. Like just a few, just to kind of make it a little bit of a shimmer just when the light hits it just right, because this is like a metallic paint. So, and I love using metallic paints just for a little bit of sparkle every now and then. If you have any questions, either about what I'm doing or about the subscription box, this is the time to ask too. Like we can talk about different things. If you don't know what to expect, we can kind of clear that up a little bit, which is, you know, one of the reasons that I wanted to do the workshop is so people could ask questions, get some clarity, also just to kind of see my painting style a little bit. So that's the cardinal. I think I'm just going to try to rotate this camera just a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to give that a minute to catch up and see if that angle is a little better while I put some of this paint back in my bottles, which I told you about earlier today. I try to do that just to kind of save the paint, because I don't like to waste it when I get too much. Okay, there's that one. Trying to get the angle better for you guys. I feel like this morning I felt like I had a really good angle, but for some reason this evening the angle is a little off, where I feel like you guys can't see as well. So I was trying to adjust it a little bit more. And when it looks the opposite direction, it's hard for me to keep straight which way I need to move it to for it to be more centered. So while I was doing that, I was waiting for the camera on the computer to kind of catch up, because it has a delay, of course. So now we can move on to the next step. kind of clean out my tray again. I really have gotten to like these little plastic trays that I found. So we are done with the, this way is the way I need to go. We're done with the cardinal, except for putting it all together, but we're done painting the cardinal. So for the next little piece, I'm going to set this aside, kind of let it dry. The next thing we're going to work on is, oh, I was like, I can't find what I need to find. And it's because it's underneath my messy mat here. I'm going to set that down there. So I really love the way this background turned out. And we're ready to start working on this as well. And the first step of it is painting the greenery. So I'm starting with classic green. If I can find the classic green, here it is. To kind of start the first layer of my branches, or the branches of the vines, and then the actual greenery as well. So classic green is another folk art color. I'm going to grab me a different brush here. I might have went the wrong way. Let's wait for the camera to catch up again. How much is the monthly subscription? Okay, Christina. So I have this on a Post-it because I figured this would come up. So my box, the monthly box, is going to be $47.95 plus $9 shipping. The discount that you get for being in the workshop is $4 off, and that's for the life of your prescription. So subscription, not prescription. So it ends up being $43.95 for you guys. And on Wednesday, when I open it up for you guys, I'm going to give you like a discount code that you enter when you click purchase, and that way it'll take that $4 off. I also am going to do a virtual subscription, like a digital subscription. That's going to be $22.95, but there's not going to be a discount on that one. And that one, basically, you'll get the tracer and the instructions via email, but then you still get to be in the live group and watch all the paintings and everything. So, and like I said, you guys have seen pictures and heard me talk about like the first box. The first box that you get is literally, I mean, it's packed with everything that you need to get started. It has a mixed media pad, because that's the kind of paper that I use when I paint, is mixed media paper. So it has a whole pad of the 7x10 size, which is the size that I was working on the portrait earlier, and the size of the decoupage paper that we did on the cardinal. I moved my painting the wrong way. I knew I did. So I'm trying to now go back the other way. So you get the mixed media pad, you get the folk art kit of paints. It's 12 bottles of paint. You get a set of 10 paint brushes. You get a brush cleaner, which is actually a makeup brush cleaner, but I put it in my water bucket, and my water's already blue, so you can't see it, but it's in the bottom of my water bucket, and it's just kind of a little scrubber type thing that kind of helps get the paint out of your brushes. When I ordered that, the company sent the wrong thing. They sent the actual liquid brush cleaner, which is like a little spray bottle. So when I contacted them and like, oh, I'm so sorry, you sent the wrong item, they didn't want me to send that back because shipping was going to be so high. So they actually told me to keep that. So I'm actually including that squirt bottle of cleaner also in the first box that I've never used it. But you know, what can it hurt? It was essentially free for me to keep it because they replaced the item that they sent incorrectly and then just told me, you know, keep that. And when I told them I was just going to go ahead and include it in to my customers, they were like, great, I hope you like it, or I hope they like it. So, and also, let's see, where was I? The brush cleaner. Trying to think now. Oh, you get a tube of silver metallic paint in there. And then you get, of course, you get the instructions that I typed out because I've done a few videos on the process of when I'm painting a new design, how I like paint a step and then write down what I did, and I paint a step and I write down what I did, because when I go back for like a subscription box membership, then you know I have to type all that out because I want you guys to have the written instructions also to refer to. So those are in the box. You get a sheet of tracing paper in the box to use because the first painting, you'll trace the image onto your paper. You get the tracer, the image tracer to use, so you don't have to draw anything freehand. You get a postcard size of the actual, like my painted image, like the first painting that I did. And that's just for, like, you can frame it, but you also just have it for like a visual reference as you're painting along, that you can look, you know, it's nice to have something to look at while you're painting along, like the original image or whatever. Because I even do that, you know, myself when I'm painting something for the first time. You know, I always have kind of either it's my original picture I'm looking at, or what I've already painted one time, I'm looking at it again, you know, just the painted image. So it's nice to have that visual. So you get that also. Oh, in the first box, you get the sticker of my sailboat art, which is exclusive to the first 20 boxes. I'm not going to offer that anywhere else. I'm not offering it for sale when I'm at shows. I'm not offering it to customers anywhere else. I only am offering it to my first 20 subscribers. I decided that I'm probably going to do that with each box, just kind of throw in a sticker of some sort, whether it be a sticker of a painting I did, a sticker of, but it's always going to be something I created. So I like creating my own art and then having stickers made out of it. People are crazy about stickers right now. And I have some that I sell when I go to shows that I did. They're my own artwork, and they're Wisconsin related. So, you know, unless you're in Wisconsin, they wouldn't appeal to you, obviously. But I always tell people when they're looking at them, like, hey, this is my own artwork I created myself. And then I had them made into stickers, and people really like that. As opposed to just, you know, ordering a box image of something and then reselling it. So, you know, which just makes sense when you're an artist that you would create your own versus purchasing to resell. So I might, you know, most of the time it's probably going to be a sticker of an image that I painted. So that, I think I covered everything, but like that first box is, you know, it's going to be a big box. Because I didn't want you, you know, we talked about being overwhelmed in the craft store and, you know, not knowing what to buy. I didn't want you to have that overwhelm, like, you know, because there's other paint groups you can belong to that where you just follow along, and that's fine too. But I wanted to be able to create and provide you with the supplies that I'm using, especially when it's mixed media, because, you know, sometimes you don't know what to use, where to start with mixed media. And so I want to for sure include all of that in that first box where you can just sit and be ready to paint. The next layer of, oops, wrong one. The next green I'm going to use is called Secret Meadow. It's another folk art color. And I'm going to paint these, the greenery that's on these little vines with this color. And like I told you when I traced it, I didn't trace those because it's much easier to not have that tracing line kind of fooling you about where do I, trying to fit in the tracing line. So I just didn't trace those. And these kind of leaves, I literally just hold the brush down, push the brush down and kind of drag it a little bit, and it kind of makes a little oval shaped leaf. I said this earlier, I'm not sure who all was able to watch the replay if you weren't watching live, but I initially had a program where I was using 2 screens where you could see what I was doing and you could see me like talking. I could never get, it didn't ever seem like a clear picture. It always seemed kind of blurry, and I didn't want especially the image that I'm painting, I didn't want the video to be blurry where it was hard for you guys to see. I think it has more to do with my internet speed at my tiny house versus like the actual, it had nothing to do with the program that I bought. But since it wasn't a clear image, I already canceled that subscription to that program and decided, like, you know, it's really more important for you guys to see what I'm doing versus, you know, you don't have to see my face all the time. So I might try a different program later, but for now it's just going to be the image of me painting, which is the most important. Like, that's what you're here for, right? Is to see what I'm painting and learning from me. So that's how come I only have 1 screen again, because I just decided it wasn't super expensive, but it's like, do you really want to waste money on something that effectively, like, really doesn't work for you? So I decided to just cancel and not worry about having the 2 screens. So that's the story on that. What other questions do you guys have? Hopefully I answered your question, Christina. Because remember, you need to be participating to be able to be in the drawings. Anyway, so, and can you guys see that? I can see in the screen that I'm looking at looks like it's okay, like, but I just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Occasionally, just because of where I have to paint, my hand might get in the way, but otherwise, is it zoomed in enough? Is the angle okay? I also want to get feedback on that because I want you to be able to, I want it to be a good image and a good video for you guys. But then, even if you're watching the replay, you know, you have questions or comments, go ahead and comment or ask, because I'll go back and see all of the comments and can answer questions that way too, which is what I had to do earlier. I don't know, like I said, I was so frustrated that I couldn't see that you guys were all commenting, and it was so frustrating because I was like, I know there's people watching, how come no one's talking? And then when I ended the live and I saw all these comments, I was just really frustrated. But I figured it out. I can see them on the computer, so that works too. I'm just going over like a second coat on these little leaves just to kind of make them a little more solid. I did end up getting a little bit of a nap this afternoon. I didn't really plan to take a nap, but I was sitting watching TV with my husband and I just kind of felt like, yeah, I think I could take a nap. So I decided to lay down for a little bit. It was kind of nice to lay down for a minute since I worked last night. And so now I'm just kind of going over the, kind of putting a little extra stroke of this other color on some of these leaves is all I'm doing now. And I'm done with that color. Now I'm gonna get this yellow. Let me get back this yellow out. And I'm gonna mix a little bit of this yellow with this little bit of green that I have left. So I'm going to take this green and I'm going to mix it into this yellow. Kind of make it a, kind of a, I don't know, a celery green. Just a really lighter green. Because this is going to be the green I'm going to use for kind of highlighting. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to put a little bit of green, yellow green on some of these leaves to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. Where's that other little, there it is. And I'm gonna put this brush back and use this little one again. And I'm gonna also put some of this in the stems that are in the water down here by just using this small brush and kind of just touching it in a few places. Just adding a few highlights, just kind of make sure painting look a little more realistic. And then I'm going to come back and put different highlights on those vines a little bit later. I'm going to leave that to dry a little bit. Now I'm going to take this dark blue. It's a really, really dark blue. It almost looks black. And I'm going to make the line where earlier I told you I didn't draw the line for where the table was. I wanted to kind of make it a little more organically, so I left that off. So I'm going to use this color here, and I'm going to start about right here. I'm just going to draw straight across here to create the table, the surface, whatever you want to call it, where this wine glass sits. And we're kind of leaving the background of the upper part. Oh shoot, you guys can't see the bottom. I realize that now. I'm leaving it's because I have all these blues that I picked out for my portrait, and I didn't want to put them back because I didn't want to forget which blues I picked. So they're kind of in my way as far as moving my, I can tilt it a little more maybe. There we go. Hopefully you can see that now, where I painted the line. And then, but we're leaving the background up here the way it is. Like I'm not doing anything else with that background, but down here we want to separate like this table area. So we are going to paint that in, and I'm just going to use different colors of blues and make kind of a, you know, a very abstract-ish kind of table, not anything perfect or fancy. So I'm just kind of coming in with this dark blue in different areas. I know I talked about earlier how I tape my paper down when I'm going to do a water wash background just so it doesn't wrinkle. So this is completely flattened out again. Then I'm going to leave it taped onto the board the whole time now, because then I have this nice crisp white border around the painting when I'm done and I take off this paint or tape. So what I do with the paint is, or the tape, I use the purple like delicate surface tape on the paper. I leave about a 1/4 inch border all the way around the page. Then I use the blue tape, which is a little bit stronger hold, and I cover, like go out past the edges, the purple tape, just so it's a good, like it doesn't come off of the board, because sometimes the delicate surface tape will, like if it gets wet, it'll start to come off. So I kind of reinforce it a little bit with the blue tape, but I have the purple delicate surface tape actually on the paper itself, because then it won't rip your paper. I find the blue tape will kind of rip the paper a little bit when you take it off. So I found that the purple tape works a little bit better. So that's what I've been doing. I'm going to use another blue color. So now I'm just basically taking different colors of blue and painting in areas of this table. And I'm just kind of overlapping. It's very random where I'm painting. And then I'll use this blue. And like earlier today, when I'm using kind of the same colors over and over, like all blues or all reds or all yellows, whatever, I don't necessarily rinse my brush out, just because once it gets kind of wet and watery, it's, you know, then I usually just switch to a different brush. But if I'm using different shades of blue, I don't even rinse my brush off. Sometimes they'll kind of blend together a little bit, which just makes more interesting in your painting. So that's a little tidbit I can give you that you'll notice a lot of the time. I just kind of wipe it on a towel and move on. So especially if it's a brush that I really like to use and I'm like, oh, I don't want to put it in the water, I'll just kind of wipe it off and keep going. So and that's what I'm doing right now is just kind of I'm really just picking all kinds of different blues that I already have sitting up here because these are the blues I picked out for the lady portrait. So that's what you hear me doing when I pause, is I'm just getting another color of blue paint in my little tray. And on this table little area, we are covering the whole background just because we want a good separation between the background and the table, like color wise. So we will cover this whole area with different blues, and just so you can tell there's a different surface there. I am kind of being careful when I'm up close to the wine glass. Did anyone do anything fun for Memorial Day weekend? Like I said, I worked. I work weekends now anyway, so I worked and tried to sleep when I could, but I worked, and now I have off until Friday night again. So that's the nice thing about working just weekends, is you get more time off during the week. So I'm really happy with my new scheduling and glad I made that decision to kind of do that, especially when I'm trying to get my little new side hustle going. Gives me a lot more time to work on it and more time to paint, which is what I really love to do. Just kind of making sure I've kind of covered all the background area, except for like where the wine glass is. I don't want to cover that up yet because it'll be a different color when we get to it. So I'm going to stop with that now. I'll probably add some more to the background a little bit on another step. But the next step in this is I'm going to take a smaller brush again, and I'm going to have some more yellow. With a touch of white to make a really light yellow. Oh gosh, that was more than a little white. But I do want a very, very light yellow. Okay, so I got this light, it's almost white. I mean, it's a really light yellow, because that's going to be kind of parts of the water in the glass. So I want to be very careful not to cover up my little stems that are in the water. And I'm using yellow because one, you get the reflection of the glass, and it makes it kind of a yellowish tint. The reflection of the flowers above kind of change the color of the water a little bit. So I'm doing just a little bit of light yellow 4 areas of the water. So the other advantage that you guys have for being in the workshop is like the open cart day of my subscription box is technically not until Thursday, but I'm going to open it up to you guys in the group on Wednesday afternoon. So after the first live on Wednesday, I'll give you the discount code. I'll open up the cart, and you guys will have first chance at the box. Because like I said, there's only 20 of the actual boxes. Obviously the virtual digital subscription is unlimited because it's just going to come through email if you do that version. So there's no limit on that one. I do have, I think I will do for the first 20 virtual subscribers, if you're in the group and you decide to do the virtual, I think I will like mail you one of my stickers, just because that was part of the bonus for the first box. And I ordered the minimum quantity I could order of those was 50. I wanted to have some for myself and my family, but I still had some extra. So I think even if you do the virtual subscription, I'm going to get your address and send you just in the mail a little thank you for subscribing and give you my sticker. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do on the water for now. And then what I'm going to do now is we're going to move over. I'm going to do a little more on Our Lady portrait. Move this out of my way. Get my little messy mat back up here. So she's really turning out. I really like the way she's turning out. I'm going to get my brush I need here, because I'm almost done for tonight. And then what I'll do is for the drawings that I'm going to do today is I'm going to pull up a program on my computer. It's just like it's a wheel type thing, where you enter names and it like spins the wheel and it chooses a winner. So that's how I'm going to choose the winners of the door prizes for today. I'm going to give away 3 things this evening, but I'm going to do that after this live. I'm going to come back on live in just my like the event, not the private group, but the event group. Just so people who are interested, they might still want to join if they see, ooh, there's prizes. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do it that way, just so you guys can all see live who the winners are, and it'll take me a minute to kind of get organized after I clean up, my little area, not clean up, but getting off of my camera off of the live screen, and then just coming back on where I can video the wheel spinning. I can't find my words. So now on her, I am using Look at Me Blue. It's a folk art color. And like I said earlier, I randomly pick where I want the color. I'm not making it too complicated. But yeah, this is called Look at Me Blue. It's kind of a denim-y blue color. I really like it. So yeah, I'm going to give away 3 prizes tonight. I don't know which ones yet, but as far as like participation and people who commented from today and earlier today, I think there's only maybe 6 people. So there's a high probability you would win something, which is kind of fun. I'm trying to leave, you can see I'm kind of leaving where the lines are, where I drew and traced over the stencil lines. And that's because I want to see like where exactly to put the stencil back on, because, you know, we're going to do something fun with the stencil after the paint's all dry, like that final step. So I'm kind of partially leaving where I can still kind of see those lines, because they're going to essentially be covered up with the next step anyway. So, but I want to be able to see exactly where I need to put that stencil so it's lined up properly. Christina, I know you said that you were going to look for those stencils. Did you find them? Because like I said, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I found them on Amazon, and it was totally like I was looking for something else and they just popped up. I was looking for another kind of stencil actually, and they just kind of popped up, and I was like, ooh, I really like those. But I know you also mentioned, said that you were thinking about doing the portrait class with Yvette, and if you do that, I know that you'll really like that too. Those classes are really fun. I have some all drawn out that I want to do also. I haven't done them all yet, but I have the ones that I want to do. Because with her, you kind of sketch out, you sketch it out first, like she kind of sketches it out with you and like has you follow along basically. But they're really simple sketches. I mean, like she really just says, you know, like she also, I don't know if it's in the first one. She has a reference tracer kind of image that she downloaded in the group too, but I'm not sure if it's in the first one or the second, because she has 2 portrait classes now that she's released, and I can't remember if it was in the first one. I know it's in the second one for sure, but it's really simple to follow along with her as far as like her drawing things out, because she just breaks it down and like draw a triangle here, and but she's really she has a lot of nice fun classes. So I think that if you decide to do that, I think that you'll really enjoy it. So as you can see, well, you might not be able to see, I don't know. With the folk art, some of the darker colors, especially when you're painting on white, you kind of have to do a second coat because that white still wants to kind of show through a little bit. So that's all I'm doing right now. And then I'll decide where I want this color of stripe on here. All right, so isn't she just really turning out very nice? I just think she's going to be really pretty. I like this. So far, I like this one much better than the reds and pinks I did. I'm not a real huge pink fan anyway, but I like all these different blues together for sure. So I'm going to paint in the stripe with this color, and then I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow at 11. I don't work anymore this week, so I'll be on time, I promise. I won't postpone again on you. So Karen is a scrapbooker. Have you been scrapbooking, Karen? Or have you just been busy with other things? I know you have the book club and that too, so my folks have been talking about coming up, and it was kind of funny because we always say come whenever you want, except like I had my art event this weekend, and so I was like, Memorial Day weekend you can come, but I have an event, so they didn't want to come when I was going to be busy, obviously. But it's so funny because they're retired, and she's like, well, we can't come in June because we're busy every weekend. And I just kind of chuckled. I'm like, you can do whatever you want because you're retired. So if you want to be busy and have something to do every weekend, that's your choice. Like, that's fine. I'm glad that you don't just sit at home. So it was just kind of funny. Like, she's like, I don't know when we're going to come. We're just so busy. And I know that Karen is retired and Christina is retired, so I'm sure you can relate. And Christine, I know you have a lot of things coming up too with your kids club, a lot of camps that you have scheduled. I saw. That's fun. I could not, I don't think I could do it. I'm patient when it comes to kids for the most part, but sometimes I'm like, especially kids today, sometimes they just have no discipline, and it's hard to manage sometimes. But yeah, I don't have the patience to deal with kids the way I used to, so for sure I could not do a kids camp. But kudos to you. Of course, you were a teacher, so you're used to it. Karen tries to scrapbook every week. I'm sure you do. Oh, reading a book club for Wednesday. Yeah, it would be easy to be like, oh, I forgot to read my book. Is it a good book, Karen? At least I've been listening to, I haven't listened to a book in a while in my car. I usually do audiobooks in my car. I've been listening to some podcasts lately, but I did read a really good book a while back. Well, I didn't read it, obviously. I listened to it. It's called, what was it called? I think it's called Husband and Wife, I think is what it's called. But it was really, really good. It was kind of like a mystery thriller book. And then I told my daughter about it because she can sometimes listen to books while she's working too. And she has access to my my Audible account, and so I told her to listen to it, and she listened to it in one day because I told her, I was like, it's like a 9-hour like book when you're listening, and she listened to it at work, and then she's like, I had to finish. So even after she clocked out at work, she had to finish the book. But she said, I finished it in one day because when I'm driving, it takes me a couple of trips usually to finish a book. So that is all the blue I'm going to add on Our Lady for tonight. I will be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow at 11. And well, I'll be back later in a few minutes, probably by 8, to do the drawing of the prizes. And it'll be in the event page. So like the launch workshop event page, not this private group. Just that's just going to be a little easier for me, but I'll video like the spinny wheel so you can see who wins, and if you are a winner, obviously I'll get your address, and after Wednesday, when everything is kind of finalized, I will send them all out. So all right, well, I'll see you guys.